What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building, back with another episode of the Shop Podcast, coming to you guys live here on another beautiful Saturday afternoon. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys are always awesome, rocking out here with us every Saturday for these great topics, great gamers. We appreciate you guys so much. And I got a special guest in the house tonight, but we're gonna go ahead and start with my right hand man. Shout out to Zalker. He will not be on the podcast tonight. He could not get out of work. So shout out to you, Zarker. I know you're going to go ahead and watch live. Appreciate the love, brother. We'll see you next Saturday, I guess, man. So, Fuzzy, go ahead and shout yourself out, man. Let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Fuzzy Belvedere here. You can find me on Twitter, Xbox Live, or PSN under the same name. Looking forward to talking games with our guest here today and our host, PTK. Let's get started.
Started. All right, man. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce this gentleman. All right. So he is the editor-in-chief as well as the co-founder of XBLAfans.com. I will make sure I put that website, that link in the description, guys. So if you're listening live, please go ahead and check the website out. It is pretty much a website dedicated to, XBLA. If you don't know, which started back, I believe, on the 360 era where they started the arcade. And then it kind of transitioned into ID Xbox, what it is now. But either or, this man deserves a ton of recognition for what he's done for the community. Great gamer, great guy. Go ahead and introduce yourself, John.
Hey, thanks so much. I appreciate you guys having me on here. But yeah, no, I've been covering video games, especially Xbox in particular, pretty much since I was 18. I'm like 29 now, so it's been a while. I've been through it all. I was covering XBLA stuff even before I started XBLA Fans. It was actually on a disc on the original Xbox. Not very many people actually know that. Yeah. So that was like the absolute first mention of the program. And I mean, it's evolved so much. It's a really cool space. Like we were talking right before the show, there's so many good games that have come out of that program now. Yeah. I just love that space. Absolutely. But thanks again, guys.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Glad to have you on. So once again, guys, if it's your first time here, please drop a like on the video below, as well as subscribe to the channel. Once again, I will leave likes to these two gentlemen's Twitter accounts as well in the description, so you guys can go there, follow them. If you follow me, please follow them as well. So I'm not going to waste no more time. Let's go ahead and get started. So we got a ton of shit to cover today, man. I am excited. So first thing I want to cover, I want to talk about something that just happened earlier this week. We know Phil tweeted out earlier this week that he was in Japan, essentially making rounds. And I did a video about this on the channel, so if you didn't see, go check the archives. But I want to get you guys' opinion on what do you guys think about that event? What do you guys think? Because traditionally when he goes to Japan, things usually happen. We see fruits of that labor. It may not happen like within 6 months, maybe a year down the line. We'll see it at E3, like with this past E3, where we got a ton of Japanese support on stage at E3. A lot of games premiered, a lot of exclusive trailers, a lot of exclusive things. Really cool shit. So let's go ahead and start with you, John. Do you think, first of all, what do you think that trip means for Xbox in Japan? Second of all, do you think we're going to see anything maybe at that fan event in November?
I think the biggest thing this shows is that the Xbox team is kind of listening to what feedback they are getting from, Japanese developers. Because that's something he mentioned when he went last year. So like Phil went again last year. I mean, this has kind of become a yearly thing for him now. And that's something I love about Phil in general is like at his core, he is a gamer. And at the same time, he wants these devs to be able to do the absolute most, on his platform. So like he puts a lot of love into that system, and they very much listen to the different feedback they're getting, because it's really cool seeing that there are Japanese developers who are producing content that they want to go on to a Western audience. And I mean, even outside of just Japan, he went to China, I believe, last year, and we ended up getting was it Candleman? And that game was fantastic. Yeah. It was the first Chinese game, I believe, that came out on Xbox, and it came out through the ID at Xbox program, and it was fantastic. Really cool game.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I think, so do you think that we're going to see any of that at the event, any fruits of the labor at the event? Because, I mean, I know there have been rumbles here and there about rumors. I don't really like to feed too much into those about, there may be exclusive games, maybe a partnership here with another studio, anything like that. So essentially, what would you want to see from the trip? Like if it was anything to be shown?
See, I feel like in general, this trip is less about that event, just because I have to imagine that the slate for that event has more or less been planned about,
for a while now,
3 months out. Like
yeah.
There may be 1 or 2 slots that just say, like insert later, just to keep it under wraps. But I have to imagine that they've kind of had a lot of that kind of nailed out. And I mean, I'll be honest, I have no idea what we're going to see at that. I would love to see games, I mean, as a whole, because as Xbox has been killing it when it comes to the services end, between everything they do, Xbox Live being fantastic, the fact that we have Game Pass, the fact that they have backwards compatibility, they're continuing to push different service aspects in great ways. And I know you're going to talk about the whole cloud thing later, but like they're continuing to look at that stuff. But I think what a lot of people are wanting to see anymore is games, because like adding studios at E3, in my opinion, was huge.
Oh yeah,
adding all those studios, especially with Game Pass, means that we're going to get those studios games on Game Pass. So you're going to see even more Game Pass titles. And since you get first party for free, that $10 subscription or whatever, that adds so much value to it when it's more than just Sea of Thieves, State of Decay and Forza. And you're getting, an additional like 5 titles plus maybe a Halo or Gears every other year, something like that. That's just crazy. But I mean, as far as the trip to Japan and stuff, I genuinely don't think it's more going to be about that. I think it's more kind of a developer feedback trip than like, let's see if we can just, snag something for an event a month out. I'd love to be wrong and just find out like, boom, he's got this huge, massive exclusive bomb that just like, shatters the internet.
Yeah, no, good point. I think that is definitely a possibility. And I've always said this too, and I said this in my video. It's more about building good relationships and maintaining good relationships. Now, from the outside looking in, the console doesn't sell well in Japan. It's well documented.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't buy it. I mean, it just crossed the 100,000 mark, and it's about 5 years later, or so. So, I mean, that just goes to show that they don't really, take to the traditional console space there. We know mobile dominates that market, but I just think that the fact that he's over there putting in the legwork, and you see things like Jump Force, you see things like Final Fantasy, you see things like Kingdom Hearts, Devil May Cry come to the Xbox stage, which weren't expected at all. We didn't even know that those things were going to be shown, for the most part. So that just goes to show you maintain great relationships, you get results like that, even with the Japanese market being is what it is for the Xbox. So I want to go ahead and throw this question to you as well, to Fuzzy. What do you think about what everything that's going on, the whole trip to Japan?
Well, I'm hoping, along with like some of the stuff that's already announced, like Kingdom Hearts and Devil May Cry, we get a little bit more info on other games that are listed to come to Xbox, but no one's really talked about, like Ace Combat. It's one of those not really flight simulator, but like dogfight type video games I've been looking for on an Xbox for a long time. And, it's been kind of silent as far as that developer with release date and everything. I'm also hoping, because I know that there was talks about some sort of deal with Microsoft and Sega, and I know some of that was because of like Sonic Forces or something along those lines, but I would like to see possibly some more fruits of that labor, as far as maybe whether it's remasters or reimaginings of like Crazy Taxi or Outrun or anything like that. I mean, it was nice that they had like a tribute in Forza Horizon 4 to those games, where they were talking about cars and in video games and things. But Sega was like a mainstay for my childhood. I wasn't a Nintendo kid. I was more of a Sega kid.
Same here. I was too.
And I know that there's a good relationship as far as behind the scenes, as far as whether something that's in the works or other agreements that Sega has worked out with Microsoft. But I would like to see a little bit more, and I'm hoping that maybe some of that gets revealed at the XO18. I would also like to see some of the other games that were kind of rumored or may have been hinted to possibly come to Xbox. Just for those that may have been waiting on the sidelines, and saw what was on like the PlayStation, but didn't necessarily want to pick up a PlayStation. I'm not necessarily looking for it for myself, but like a Persona 5 or I believe it's Neo. I don't think Neo.
Yeah, Neo's not here yet. Yeah, people have said I think there's been a rumor out that it was supposed to come, or they mentioned that they wouldn't mind putting it on Xbox. I believe the developer came out and said that they've I guess even had a thought about bringing it to Xbox. So I think it was something similar to that. Don't record me or anything, but I think that was the gist of it. Yeah. So.
But and on Sega, I think another one was Yakuza, because I'm pretty sure Yakuza is a Sega title.
It is.
It's one of those things where they could possibly bring either one of the previous titles or work on a new series for that would be for the Xbox to kind of catch up to I guess the timeline of the series currently. But I'm looking forward to see what comes of it. But I'm really hoping that there's some Sega news, as well as some of the other titles that are rumored or have been looked for by other Xbox members that may not have been able to pick up a PS4 to play some of those other games that were like kind of like third-party exclusives. But really looking forward to this XO18 here in the next, was it like 3 weeks now?
Yeah, it's right around the corner. Was it? I believe the 10th, right, guys?
Yeah,
it's coming up.
Oh yeah.
One thing to keep track of when it comes to a lot of those games that have been on, PlayStation and whatnot, is check and see when that year mark is hitting for the games, because typically if there's an exclusivity agreement or something, that's around when you're going to be able to see something. Like Hellblade came,
yeah,
we eventually got Neo, or was it Nier? One of them.
It was Nier Automata. Yeah.
I have not had a chance to play it. I know Zero's.
I heard that game was actually great. Yeah, I heard that game was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, cool. So, essentially, I think with the Japanese thing, we've gone back and forth as Xbox fans about there's someone one side of the fence saying, hey, let's just fucking Titanic this thing and abandon shit. Let's forget all about Japan. Let's not even bother wasting any time, resources, or money. I think that'd be a huge mistake. I think that the variety, the catalog that Xbox is building, when you don't go out and purchase the kind of studios, thinking about the studios that they purchase, all of those studios make the kind of games that Xbox lacks in its catalog currently, right? We're talking RPGs, we're talking open world games, first party solo experiences, things like that. And a Japanese game, there is a percentage of the fan base that wants those kind of games, and it's a pretty decent sized percentage. A lot of, if you're not in the know, you would think that, okay, that's just niche. There's not a whole lot of people that want it, but there is a pretty sizable market for Japanese titles. Think about the I know you probably know better than me, John, as far as these Japanese games. Think about the support on the OG Xbox and the 360 when those both dropped. When they came out to the OG Xbox,
they went hard on like Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey and a bunch of games like that. Yeah, and I think one thing that's kind of interesting when you got to remember with all of that is how big a head start the PlayStation brand and the Nintendo brand have had. And Nintendo is massive in Japan.
Yeah.
People forget how absolutely massive it beyond just video games. Like, I think they do medical tech. Like, they do a bunch of random other stuff that, like gamers don't even remember. But like, they do so much random stuff over there that they're just a massive company. Yeah. And like Sony in particular just has a ton of brand value in Europe and, Japan in general. So, like you see a lot of that kind of as a hurdle Xbox kind of needs to jump in a sense. But one thing I think is cool, and Phil has said this himself, is that, Japanese developers want the Xbox to do well because a lot of them think their games have a worldwide audience appeal. And if you think your game has a worldwide audience appeal, you want the console that's doing well everywhere, not just the ones that are doing well in Japan. So, if the Xbox is doing, fantastic at the moment in the US or something, even if it's lagging in every other region, you want it to still do well because you want to be able to get on that platform and reach a bigger audience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great point. And like you said a minute ago, I just think that like it's a two-way street when it comes to Japanese devs. There's the want, there's the need, on both sides. So I think Xbox needs the variety. I think it won't hurt, at the end of the day, honestly, when you just think about it from as practical a standpoint as you possibly can. It's not going to hurt the brand at all. So even if you feel like they're just niche games, I mean, they're going to add to the catalog, and I think there's some gems there. I mean, I think that even like I know somebody mentioned in the chat, Black Desert Online, games like that do have a place. I mean, on Xbox. So I think honestly that we're going to see something at some point. Who knows if it's going to be at the event in November? I hope we do get some left field shit out of nowhere. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. So that was a great opening category, man. Great start to the channel show, essentially. So if you're just filing in right now, make sure you drop a like on the video. Helps the video be seen. Helps the podcast be seen as well. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and talk about some cloud stuff, man. So this project Xcloud, essentially information dropped earlier this week as well, and I want to get you guys' opinion on that. Now, I hadn't fully read the article, so I didn't get all the details. So I don't want to misspeak, but I do want to get you guys a general, thought process on, what's going on. What do you guys think? What do you guys think they're trying to reach? And I guess this could even tie in with us just talking about Japan and Phil's visit there, because I think that that's a huge handheld market, and if you can get those games to be streamed on those handheld devices or phones, in a place like Japan and a place like India, and it's actually functional, that opens up a whole.
I think the one you just mentioned is actually a huge one.
Yeah,
and like India's got so many people, and mobile is huge.
Yeah,
but how do you get past mobile? Like how do you bring some of the other stuff at a lower cost? And if you can do some of that stuff where you can start to put out Xbox quality games on a lower end mobile phone, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if it's not at the same resolution or experience you would get on an Xbox, if they can even keep it somewhat close, that would just be mind blowing. And I mean, this isn't that new a concept. Obviously, PlayStation tried to do their whole PlayStation thing with streaming. Wasn't huge. OnLive tried to do its thing and was kind of more of an internet joke for a while. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I think Microsoft's reading the room and they're saying, okay, we're starting to get to a place worldwide where this is possible. Because I think everyone's known this technology was going to be a big deal. And it's going to be a huge deal moving forward, maybe 10, 15 years down the road. Maybe not 5. I think this is something that'll be huge in maybe 10 years. And that's what we're going to be looking at, is that, it may not be Sony that Microsoft's even competing with. It may be
Google, Amazon,
and Facebook and Amazon, the big, global internet companies in a sense. The people who have the server spaces all throughout the universe. Like Microsoft has server racks every single place ever, practically.
Literally. I think they have the second largest server.
Yeah, I think it's them and Amazon, if I remember right.
Amazon's one, I think, and then the Azure servers are second, I believe.
No, you and I are on the same page on that one. So I think that's right.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, go ahead and finish your statement. I don't know if you were done or.
Oh no, you can jump in if you got something to say.
All right, yeah, no, you're good, man. So now I would just get you guys' opinion on that. Fuzz, man, what do you think? What do you think about the Xcloud? I know you talked about this. We've talked about it, and I want to tie something in real quick before I let you speak. I talked about this. Shout out to Saltiest Gaming. I was on his podcast on Thursday, and we talked about the fact that there's these overall, internet issues about availability to the masses, essentially, and how that's going to work with data caps, just overall data. Because as far as the USA, and if you look on the actual rankings, we're pretty far down the list, 25 or 26 or somewhere. And I think that something like Xcloud could benefit more for other areas because they seem to be ahead of the curve as far as internet services. I mean, there are places in the world like South Korea, like Sweden, where you're getting a gig up, a gig down. You're paying $10 a month.
No, I think you just hit the nail on the head, to be honest, because I think areas like South Korea, where they have the kind of quality internet that I think a lot of us want, that's where you're more likely to see some of this stuff. You got to remember, South Korea is also not even close to the size of the U.S.
Yeah, that is true. That is
so but I mean, we really do lag behind when it comes to a lot of the infrastructure, and I think that's part of why the console space as a whole is not something that you really have to fear disappearing anytime soon, because I think that Microsoft understands that while they want to push this, and get ahead of the curve on a lot of this, they know that the console space is what's going to be here right now, especially in the US. Like you said, I have so many friends with bandwidth count. Like if you can't handle that kind of bandwidth, there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Fuzz, what do you think? I mean, even with me including that in there, as far as the limitations, as far as internet, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think this is truly for? What is your opinion on that?
I think who it's intended for and who will actually pick this up are probably slightly different groups, at least in the States anyway. I think this was intended for those that are mobile gamers or may do the Facebook farm simulator stuff or whatever. But I think this is going to grab hold in households where there's kids, and this will be the nice, affordable alternative or additional console. Or it may even be for those without kids but just want to have multiple consoles in their house, where the main game room has the standard box, but the bedroom or the other, like the study or something like that, has the streaming box if they don't feel like going all the way into the game room. Or if there's multiple gamers in the household, or like with me and my wife, for example, she may want to just watch Hulu for whatever story is on at that point in time, and I can go ahead and go to the other room and stream whatever game I was playing earlier. So I think it's going to get picked up by households where you have multiple TVs and possibly multiple gamers, or at least streamers, whether it be Netflix or Hulu or something like that. But yeah, there's cheaper alternatives for just the streaming aspect of Netflix and things. But if it's someone that might also want to play games, it's at, I guess it's the $100 or $150 mark. It's definitely going to be something that people will look to. And I know that there's been a whole bunch of rumors on possibly multiple types of hardware where it would be running, I guess, this Xcloud software. So whether it's something like a tablet or the Streambox Scarlet that we've heard about, months ago and stuff, I think this is going to be a nice entry for a lot of young folks. And it may also carry over to those like my sister, for example. She grew up as a gamer. She had, like, my sister's a good bit older than me, and I grew up in the 70s. She grew up in the 60s. But she had like the Atari 2600. Her level of gaming now is just basically playing like solitaire on her Mac, or some of the like Plants vs. Zombie type games, but not like the first person shooter version. It's more like the just strategic top side view type of stuff. And something like this would appeal to her because the cost is low. She has decent internet service in her condo, and it'd be something easy for her to at least give a try without it being like me trying to convince her to get a Xbox One X or even a PS4 Pro or something like that.
Yeah.
But overall, I know that there's a lot of people assuming doom and gloom that this is going to somehow replace the standard console, but like you were saying earlier, there's not that much of a chance, considering limitations and things like that the standard box is going to go away anytime soon. And if it does, by the time it does go away, the latency thing will be such a non-issue that I think we'll all forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it there, and a lot of that, because like, it's going to really up accessibility in a sense. And I think in general, things people forget is a lot of the developers and publishers care more about active users and the download numbers on games than the raw sales numbers.
Yeah.
So, they're trying to keep people playing this stuff. So if you can get it in the hands of more people, and suddenly you have more and more people now, because all these devices can now play these games from this service, that also allows them to spend more money theoretically on some of these bigger end titles. So you might actually end up seeing bigger and better games coming into the system because of the fact that now there's more of this user base. So I don't think it's one of those things that people should be looking at and seeing as, oh my God, this is bad for the console itself. Because I think at the core, the console itself is going to be fine, like for at least 5 years or so, like at least one more cycle. I can't imagine we go, you know, less than a full cycle before we hit the point where they're trying to push people toward streaming.
Tech moves fast, but it don't move that fast.
Well, tech moves fast, but the government doesn't.
Oh, that too.
Until the government,
lots of red tape,
regulations, and you know, like internet service providers and all that stuff. That stuff does not move fast.
Yeah. You talk about legislation.
Yeah, because that's what I'm talking about. Until the legislation is there in place, you know, for a lot of this stuff, you're not going to really see fast moving on tech.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what do you guys think about this too? I was just kind of thinking about it here a second ago. Now, so essentially, if this thing, you know, if you're able to get to a point say 4 to 6 years from now, you know, we get to a point to where this is actually viable, you know, for a majority of people, and you can actually use different things to stream these games, maybe the box, or maybe you can use another handheld device. Hell, maybe all it is an app. You can even use a smartphone, you know, for some of the games, essentially. Think about what that opens up. Think about them essentially, now this may be like super left field, but them essentially, you know, maybe bundling in the service with like a cell phone plan. Like saying, because you bought the cell phone plan, you get access to, you know, that streaming service, you know, on Xbox.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or something like along those lines. I know that may be thinking like, you know, technology evolves, the whole cell phone market's evolving. I know that sounds crazy because a lot of these games aren't like mobile level games, but I'm just thinking, you know, outside of that, just open up the doors of possibility as far as the flexibility of having something like this that's actually able to work. You know what I'm saying? Even if it is another piece of tech you have to purchase starting out, eventually, I'm assuming, you know, just kind of the arc of all of this, that it's going to get to a point to where you may not even need the box. You know, it may just be a service at that point. So, you know, you got to think kind of long term here. So,
Microsoft's shown that they're willing to be pretty flexible with a lot of this stuff anymore, because you can look at that, you know, pricing plan they did for people who wanted to get an Xbox, you know, with Game Pass and Live, you know, kind of like rented in a sense, you know, rent to own or whatever. So, I mean, they ran that whole program, and I mean, it was at a fairly fair rate compared to what you'd get at like an Aaron's or one of those kind of places. So, you know, it's like they've shown they're kind of looking into stuff like that, between that and, you know, Game Pass. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have used like a Switch or a Wii U, or even done streaming, you know, from the Xbox now, like the local stuff you can do on your own Wi-Fi. But it is really cool, like you said. If you have multiple people in a house and you want to be in the same room, you know, while someone else is watching TV, you can just sit down and, you know, play something. So like for me to be able to sit down and play like The Legend of Zelda on a Switch and not be antisocial hanging out in my own room with headphones on, you know, I can kind of be in the same room and kind of, you know, still play something is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we can get to a point where that's more accessible, I think that's good for gamers in general. You know, just being able to, you know, not always have to have, you know, multiple copies of a game, multiple boxes, multiple everything, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, that's something I love about Game Pass in general, is if I know my friends have it, all I have to do is ask, do you have hard drive space? And if not, can you delete something? It's not, hey, dude, this game is awesome, I need people to play it with me. It's like, hey, dude, this game is awesome. Go download it. We're going to go play later, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It just allows so much flexibility. And I think that, you know, a lot of these things sometimes Xbox is killed. You guys think about what they've done in the history as far as innovation, you know, as far as in the console space that Microsoft and Xbox has created. You talk about being the first Indian over the hill for a lot of the shit that's going on. Like, you talk about like just putting a damn, you know, Ethernet port in the back of a console when the world wasn't necessarily ready for broadband yet. As far as like in that space, you know, you talk about Xbox Live becoming an actual full-fledged service in the 360 generation when the world wasn't really ready for that yet. So when things like this do happen, they tend to be the first Indian over the hill, so to speak, taking all the arrows.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's essentially how I look at a service like this. So I think at some point, the tech will catch up. This will be viable, and we'll all look at this shit. We'll look back on this podcast if it stays on the internet forever, and we'll all laugh, like, because this will be something that we just do on a regular basis as far as the way we play video games. So yeah, that was a great topic as well. So glad you guys gave me some great feedback. Once again, everybody in the chat, all the topics are for you as well. So let us know how you guys feel about what we're talking about. Thank you guys all for showing up here today. So let's move on. We got some more juicy shit to talk about. So this next one is a big one. Now, I did a video about this. I talked about this on Salty is Gaming podcast. Shout out Salty as well. And we're talking Microsoft essentially acquiring Obsidian, and that information dropping earlier this week as well. Essentially, there was like I don't want to say a leak, but some information dropped that essentially the deal was pretty much done. So a couple of devs, I believe, spoke with the media or a couple of journalists and pretty much confirmed that that deal was about done. So I know we haven't had any confirmations, and even I think they went to Obsidian and Microsoft and asked them, and they gave a real cool answer. I think Obsidian, one of the devs, gave a real cool answer about like Fleetwood Mac's album or some cool shit.
Yeah. I think that's the best rumor answer I've ever
my god,
seen.
it was so fucking hilarious.
Unfortunately, we don't comment on rumors or speculation other than to say the Rumors album by Fleetwood Mac still holds up. And that is how every rumor will ever be answered for the rest of history.
so fucking awesome. So I wanted to get you guys' opinions on how sure are we that the ink's dry on this thing? And if it is, what do you guys think this is going to add to Microsoft's essentially first party lineup? So we're gonna start with you again, John. What do you guys think what do you think this says about where Xbox is going and how serious they are moving here onto the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, if this actually ends up happening, I think one of the cooler aspects is you got to remember that Microsoft was publishing a Obsidian title at one point and ended up canning it. And, you know, since they did that,
Stormlands, right?
Yeah, Stormlands, they've still kind of rebuilt that relationship. And I mean, that kind of ties into the first thing you were talking about with Phil in Japan, is he's building these relationships. I mean, obviously Obsidian's not in Japan, Obsidian's here, but I just mean like you're continuing to see him, you know, building stronger relationships with developers in general. Because I don't think this is something you'd see happening if that change hadn't happened. You know, if we still had Dawn running the ship. I think it'd be a little harder to see something like that. I think what Obsidian would add more than anything is Obsidian is a company that has done a lot of PC development. I mean, that's one of the things that Kotaku even kind of referenced in their own post, was the fact that Obsidian kind of fills that need that Microsoft has. Because something Microsoft showed at E3 was, you know, that Gears of War Tactics game. They're clearly still trying to have some impact on the PC marketplace in some ways, beyond just, you know, the quote-unquote console games. And I mean, if they do end up opening up the Xbox completely, you know, mouse and keyboard for more of this stuff like they've been talking about, you could theoretically end up with a point where a lot of those lines end up being blurred anyway. Because if you can suddenly play, you know, RTS with a mouse and keyboard on a console, because my X is probably about as powerful as my computer at this point. You know, like, there's not much of a difference. There's no real reason why they couldn't do that. So you might start ending up where you hit some of these cool spots where there's a lot of overlap there, and I'd be pretty cool with that. As far as whether or not the deal's going to happen, I mean, the thing to remember is this deal could be 99% done, but until it's actually signed, there's still a chance someone gets cold feet.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Microsoft or whether it's Obsidian. And if it happens, you probably will hear a lot of crap from both of them, you know, not directly, but, you know, in the rumor mill kind of thing. And I mean, I would assume it's going to happen just because if Kotaku's actually posting it, they have to be pretty damn confident. Because I know a lot of press guys at a lot of these outlets pretty personally. And like I've, you know, tipped them information before that we've found. And I mean, when we do stuff, if we post something on news, we know it's happening. It's 100%. Like I've got screenshots. Like we broke the first Alan Wake, the second Alan Wake game, the sequel or whatever. Yeah. And I mean, like we had, you know, like straight up a bunch of screens for the game, you know, Alan Wake Night Springs at the time. It ended up becoming American Nightmare. And I mean, I remember when I was talking to a lot of these guys back then, you know, just kind of learning the process from them a little bit, you know, on like how certain they have to be able to even post something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like for them to post this, they are pretty damn certain it's going to happen.
So I want to interject as well. I kind of want to change that, like, throw another kind of curveball at you too, as far as that question goes. So what do you think about the fact that not only since we have this news about, you know, Microsoft essentially buying Obsidian and adding them to their first party studios, now there is a certain group of people, or not group of people, but certain, you see it here, the banner on Twitter as well, that all of a sudden Obsidian is not a great studio, or that diminishes them being the type of studio and having a pedigree that they have. So what do you say to that, or what are your feelings about that? Because that was also another thing that happened immediately after that article came out, was that there was a lot of slander. Everybody's like, oh, well, what's the last thing Obsidian did? There's just this game and that game. They haven't done much of anything without knowing the fact that Obsidian was damn near broke. They've been doing DLC. They've been doing these little small things just to keep the lights on. They haven't been able to purchase and make a full-fledged AAA game because they don't have the money. They haven't had the money the last 4 to 5 years. So I want to get your opinion on that as well. So what do you think about that side of it as well, John?
Well, I mean, I think one thing you got to remember is that people on the internet, if they have a certain bias, will find a way to make something fit the narrative they want. And I mean, like I mentioned to you before the thing or podcast even started, you know, we were talking about college football and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big UCF fan. I know we're not going to go to the college football championship playoff thing or whatever. Like I know we're going to get excluded even if we go undefeated for 2 years in a row. But I mean, one of the things that happens to us is we get to listen to a bunch of stuff about how like, oh, our schedule wasn't good, or, you know, the team we played wasn't trying, or, you know, stuff like that. So it's one of those things where if you really feel a certain way, you can find a way to argue something in that direction no matter what. So, you know, whether or not it's Obsidian isn't a good studio or Obsidian, you know, only makes this type of game with other people's IPs, you can kind of argue something like that to fit your point if you have a specific point you want to make. It's not hard to spin something. So I think you got to cut through that and see what the actual, you know, kind of points are that actually matter. And I think, in my opinion, Obsidian has done some really solid games. I liked Knights of the Old Republic 2. I liked Fallout New Vegas. And they've done some other, you know, titles
Alpha Protocol.
outside of that. Alpha Protocol showed some promise, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't at the par of something like Mass Effect, even though it was in that same kind of genre. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that you got to remember, though, on some of these is a studio like Ninja Theory put out Hellblade at a much smaller budget than the games it's getting compared to. So, you know, like in some ways that game got compared to things like God of War, even though it's really almost a walking sim in a lot of ways with, you know, combat just kind of thrown in. And the reason it's like that, probably, this is my, you know, just kind of looking at it from the outside, educated guess, is it's a much easier way to do it budget-wise, is to have these sequences where they're higher combat, and then, you know, you have, you know, kind of the little puzzle elements. And it's a little, you know, something you can pull off. And I mean, when you give someone a bigger budget, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll nail it. But if they've been nailing it with smaller budgets, that shows some promise.
Yeah, absolutely. And absolutely. So look who showed up, guys. Look what the cat drug in. I don't know if did you beat your manager up and stick him in the freezer or something?
Nah. He gave me a bunch of stuff to do for work, and so I finished it as fast as I could. And yeah, unless he sends me something else in the next 10 to 20 minutes, I'm gonna be pretty good. I hope, hopefully, for the rest of the day. Hopefully. That's
dedication, people. I appreciate that, Zucker. Man, thank you, man. So I want to go ahead and move on to you, Zucker, and get your opinion about this whole Xbox and Obsidian thing. What do you think about that, man? What's your opinion on that?
First of all, John, pleasure to meet you. My name is Zucker. No problem. You know, but yeah, heard you talking a little bit. Yeah, I'm a regular on here, hopefully, but had work hit me in the face. But yeah, no, for Obsidian, you know, I've been reading a lot of stuff about them, and it seems that it's moving along fairly nicely. I read a lot from Reset Era, I read a lot of forums, and there's a couple of users on there that tend to get things a lot more right than usual. So this is pure rumor. Apparently, some of the stuff with Xbox and Obsidian is that the contract with Xbox assures them that they can have over 200 developers.
I saw that.
Yeah, on their staff, but also giving them the flexibility to maybe split up into 2 studios, kind of like Playground did. So that's 2 games with a bunch of hiring. And it seems that Xbox, depending on the vision and what the studio provides to them, gives them whatever they want, to be honest. It looks like they're going all in. It looks like they're not stopping or slowing down. And, you know, it seems that XO in November 11th, I think it is.
Yeah. The
Veterans Day, if anybody knows that. You know, the 11th day of the 11th month of the 11th hour, you know, World War I history thing right there, people. Sorry. So it seems that this is going to be a pretty damn entertaining time for us to see that. And I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. Where there's smoke, there's fire, people. And there's a lot of smoke going on in Microsoft right now and, you know, at Redmond. And it's an exciting time, especially with Obsidian, who's made amazing games. You know, a lot of kind of little hitters that people like tend to love, and then play later, and people find out later, and they're like, wow, that's a damn good game. And it was Fallout, New Vegas, people consider that the best Fallout ever made.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even touched by Bethesda. That Bethesda has gone on record as saying they did nothing to the game. It was all Obsidian. So, yeah, I mean, to give them that much confidence and to bring another AAA studio into the fold and into the Microsoft Studios umbrella is just showing you how dedicated Xbox is and how they're looking towards the future and to next gen. And it's exciting, rumors are PS5's next year and Xbox is the year after. So this is all, and these are like not just rumors like, oh, people are just bullshitting. It's apparently, it's looking like that's going to be it. And it looks like Xbox is going to be coming swinging. I mean, with all those studios they have, they can release 3 AAA games a year if they wanted to. If you look at the math and look at the studios and how many years it takes to develop, it's unprecedented. This is an exciting time, especially with XO, then E3 6 months later. I mean, people, this is getting crazy.
It's getting out of hand, man. This event is coming up. It's going to be amazing, man. I'm super excited about it. So, Fuzzy, man, let's get your opinion. You've been sitting over there marinating for the last 20 minutes, man. Let's get your opinion. What do you think, Fuzz, man?
Hi, sexy Fuzzy, by the way.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, for as far as Obsidian is concerned, it's one of those things that ever since I saw the article about Stormlands, I wondered why that was a thing or why it was even in the news at the time, considering it was something from as far back as 2013 when that was, I guess, that deal fell through. And to hear that they were in talks or that there was an intent to buy letter and things like that kind of made me realize that maybe that's, the next course of action with Phil now having a lot more control, that he can go after those things where when he was in charge of more so the software and the things or some of the deals as far as that was concerned, he may have saw something in that game or in that reveal that they showed that he's like, hey, Xbox could definitely use this. It has a lot of potential to it. And now that I have, some financial backing, he can go and make it happen. So I kind of figured it was one of those things that we would find out come the 10th. But, hearing that news is great. The detractors that want to now say all of a sudden that Obsidian is not what they used to be because, Microsoft somehow has touched them. It gets ridiculous at times. It's like, I almost wish there was a way that whatever studios Microsoft, well, not whatever, but the first studio to release a game out of those recent acquirements, I'm hoping, I wish there was a way they could just put the game out and then just not tell anybody what console it's coming on. Just let people see it, let people play it, I guess have some sort of generic controller or maybe even, for, argument's sake, have a PS controller for those that are demoing the game. But after that, and then see what people's opinions are of the game, and then from there make the announcement that it's a Microsoft game and see if any opinions change at that point. But Obsidian, the one game that I have on my Xbox One X now that they've helped out with was or actually I think they did a good majority of the RPG aspects of it was Stick of Truth. So
yeah,
I'm been pretty happy with that game. So if they can take some more, things that you would have never thought of as far as having RPG elements in it, as far as like a cartoon type of thing, if they can, not saying the cartoon aspect, but just putting something that you watch as a TV show and then converting it into a game and giving it, playable RPG elements, I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to hopefully the Stormlands idea, coming to fruition type of thing. But yeah, I've been like 90% sure that it was going to be a done deal for some time now, and the more and more information leaks, the more and more I look forward to the 10th of November. But yeah, there's always the possibility of cold feet, but I think at this point, there have been so many things that have gone right with Microsoft as far as with them showing more emphasis or at least more attention to gaming. I think any dev that would at least listen to Microsoft or at least come to the table with to hear an offer, I think they know that Microsoft isn't just doing this to, you know, sell more consoles or anything along those lines. Yeah, they're in the grand scheme of things, they're probably looking to sell more software, but aren't all devs looking to sell more software? But I think a lot of devs now start to see that Microsoft is serious about gaming. It's not something that they just have as a, you know, another revenue stream or something, but it's something that they actually care about, or that at least a good portion of that staff from Xbox seem to care, or at least or going after the particular things that their customers want. So I hope it's a done deal, as much as the reports say, and considering like John was saying with Kotaku, to make some of those statements, they're not just going to, you know, go willy-nilly and say something that they don't at least have, you know, a pretty good inside info that it's, you know, going to work out type of thing.
Okay.
Well, and Kotaku, I don't know if anybody saw this part. You guys might have discussed it. I don't know. But Kotaku brought up that Obsidian has been working on an RPG for the last year and a half, and 2K's publishing it. And they said they don't know if Microsoft's going to let them make that game and publish it still, or if they're buying up that game in that contract. So, I mean, potentially, if Microsoft does do that, we can have another RPG coming to Xbox and Windows in the next year and a half.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things for Xbox and gaming in general at Microsoft was actually when they changed the org charts around. And that's something that a lot of gamers probably don't pay a ton of attention to. But the fact that they actually promoted Phil, you know, to the executive leadership, you know, committee up at Microsoft, where he sits there with Satya, is huge. Because, I mean, that just really shows at its core that it's not just the Xbox team up there that believes in gaming. It's Satya believes in gaming. And if Satya believes in gaming, that means he sees that there's something, you know, coming from this down the road that's worth it. And, I mean, in general, he's been one of those guys who kind of, like, does a lot of things to, you know, raise the stock price in a sense. So if he doesn't believe that this is going to do that, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you would have moved the money somewhere else that will, kind of.
Yeah.
So he has to actually believe in this stuff. And that's kind of cool to see, because when you see stuff like that, you can kind of start putting in, like, some of the, you know, the educated guesses around kind of how they're, you know, valuing different things.
Yeah. And I think the funny thing about all of this is that just consider what within the last, since E3 was June, I believe. And just since then, what they've done, I mean, like, they're not buying like EA or Bethesda or somebody like that. But I mean, think about they bought like 5 studios within the last like 4 months, 3-4 months. That's amazing. That's crazy. Like, literally, like, I feel like Satya went to Phil, was like, look, bro, we got to open up the vault, man. Like, we got to do something. Like, I'm at the big boy table now. Me and you on the same page. We got to open up them purse strings. I mean, so they got that one guy that I think it's Meyerson or whatever out of there.
Terry Meyerson, get his
fuck ass out of there. They got him out of there. He was holding on to the purse strings. He didn't want to spend no money. And so they got Phil to the big boy table. So we're seeing the results of that. You know, Phil's a gamer. People forget he's a gamer first. He's always said, I play video games. Why do you think he shouts out Nintendo and Sony every time they do some cool shit? You know, so ultimately, I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, so just ultimately, I think it's just amazing. And I think that, like, this just goes to show you that they have been listening. They do understand. And all the way up the chain of command, all the way to Satya, who's the head of the head honcho. He's everybody boss. You know, everybody's check got his name on it. So if he believes in it, like you said, John, I think that just goes to show you that he knows something. He knows where this could potentially go. So go ahead, Zalker. I know you were going to say something.
Well, you know, let's just be real here, right? You know, Xbox at the beginning of this generation, it wasn't looking very good. A lot of people had bad rap for it. It was hard to develop for the Xbox One. Studios were getting shut down. Games were getting canceled. If the fans, we know all these details. We see all of this happening. What do you think the developers are saying behind the scenes? You know, that's one thing that people don't realize is that, you know, the developer that made A Way Out, you know, that like little co-op game for EA, He said in an interview that Phil Spencer was single-handedly the greatest thing to happen to Xbox. He said, like, he goes, he's such a great guy, and he actually genuinely cares about gaming. He said that. He's like, he's just one of the best people in the industry.
I've had the opportunity to like sit and talk and listen to Phil talk and stuff in person. And I can tell you, just he is as genuine as you actually think he is.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of those things where it's like, you can kind of look at him and you're like, yeah, he's probably cool, but it's like, no, he's actually pretty cool in real life. He's got that weird Ferris Bueller cool factor, and he's also got like
Sony's like
he genuinely likes games and he likes developers and he wants everyone to be successful. Like I think he's one of those guys who genuinely is happy when Nintendo and Sony are successful because it pushes them to work harder and make Xbox that much better. It's one of those things where he just wants gaming to keep moving forward. And it's nice to have someone like that in the seat there who's, relatable to in some ways. You actually believe that he has your best interest in heart in some ways and not just looking at it from, how much money can we squeeze out of this? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, every one of them's a company. Every company's trying to make money. That's why they do this stuff. But like, it's cool to see that they believe in gaming and gaming being able to do more than just that.
Yeah. And they're investing the money into it. But the big thing that I'm seeing is that like, after E3 and the announcements of the buying of the studios and, what they said and what Ninja Theory put in that video about why they were, why they got acquired by Microsoft and how genuinely happy they seemed.
If you let me cut in real quick. If you guys have not gone to see that Ninja Theory video, please go watch it because it is amazing. It really goes to show you what happens in the relationships and kind of behind the scenes what goes on with these developers. Go ahead, Zucker. I just want to let everybody know. Go watch it if you have not seen it. So
yeah, but and that's something people are very hesitant to lose their independence and be bought by a big company because they feel, well, now I got this big brother looking over me. And it doesn't seem like Microsoft is doing that. Don't get me wrong. Of course, there's certain relationship that you have to be like, hey, deliver and we'll deliver kind of thing. It goes hand in hand. It's a marriage, so to speak. But seeing Obsidian, might be getting bought. It's not confirmed. Probably at XO it will be. And, there's rumors of other studios. You don't think other studios saw that and talked to Ninja Theory, reached out to Ninja Theory, reached out to Playground Games, reached out to all these studios to be like, hey, what's really happening? Because some of these people, they're struggling to keep the lights on. They're struggling to pay their workers. Look at Telltale. Gone.
Yeah.
So people, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, especially in gaming. And for them to basically reinvigorate studios to want to be a part of Microsoft shows how, creative thinking they are and forward thinking they are with these studios. And it's so cool to see that they're giving these people, these artistic people, the opportunity to make games that we're going to freaking enjoy for years.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
I just see the tides turning. You can read the tea leaves. Things are changing, and it's for the better in gaming because I've said this before and I'll say it again. I want Microsoft to get better because I want Sony to get better, and I want Sony to get better so Microsoft to get better because I just want damn good games.
Absolutely, competition, man, breeds is good for us consumers. So
yeah, and throw Google in there. I don't give a shit. Bring them too. Everybody, Amazon, everybody, make good games. Damn it.
Nice. Yes. So let's go ahead and move on, man. We got one more topic here, man. We may have a little bit of time left over for a bonus question here on the Shop podcast as well. So last thing, man, we're gonna cover something about Sony here. So essentially, Sony starting to allow the name changes essentially on the PS4, essentially going forward. So I know there's been some like distinction about the name changes. There's been some like small things in the details that people didn't like as far as like certain games not being able to utilize the name changes. So there's a certain level of restriction as far as name changes, and you have to pay for it. And we don't have to pay for it initially, but you have to pay for it once you decide, if you decide to change it again afterward. Pretty similar to what you do on the Xbox. But some of the other things like certain games prior to a certain date not even be able to utilize the feature. So it's just all kind of crazy stuff. So I wanted to get you guys' opinion on what do you guys think about the name changes for the most part, and just what do you guys think about the small details as far as like what's been taking them so long. We're now 2018 when they're finally getting this whole name change. So we'll start with you, John. What do you think about that, man? What do you think about the fact that Sony's finally allowing Sony PS4?
I think it's really nice to see because I I have a couple friends actually on PlayStation who've made multiple accounts over the years just because they decided they wanted to change their name for whatever reason. One of them ended up, wanting to do his own like kind of podcast and stuff and stream and stuff, and he didn't like the name he had, so he came up with like a better brand, and then he was like, "Oh crap, I can't change it." Which I don't know if any of you guys have ever changed your Xbox gamer tag. I have. I have the Kane gamer tag now, so I got that when that reopened up and they re-released those tags, because like when I first made my Xbox, that was, some random silver account just squatting it. So, like I had a couple numbers on there. And I mean, at the same time, I made my Xbox account when I was like 13. I'm not that smart when I'm 13. Like my idea of what's funny at 13 is going to be way different than what I think is cool right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'll see some of these like names and be like, man, wish I could change them. And I mean, I've always liked the fact that we can. And that's largely due to the foresight Xbox had when they did their whole infrastructure from an architecture standpoint, because they, instead of, just having your name be your name as your account, like indicator and stuff, they have all this stuff on the back end, to where there's, different unique IDs and stuff so that they can allow you to change that kind of information without it just screwing and borking the whole system. Because, I mean, like you just said, like the PlayStation thing they're going to be doing, it's only going to 100% work with PlayStation 4 games after April 1st, 2014, and the majority of the most played games. However, they haven't made it clear it's going to work on everything. So, there's a lot of random stuff where you might still see your old one. And I mean, I think that's just a little weird.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, that just shows that there's something wrong on the technical end, because there's no other reason why they wouldn't let you do this. They had to have planned things not as well at the time they started it.
Yeah, no, I'm a technical guy, but I'm not a dev. I'm not a coder or anything like that. But it just, to me, from a practical standpoint, not even being super technical, that seems like a huge lack of foresight on Sony's part, as far as the name changing thing, and not allowing that to take place and just be a regular thing. So Fuzz, man, what do you think about the name change, man? What's your opinion on that?
It's funny to me. I'm glad that they're at least keeping to one of the things they had made mention in the PSX from last year, even though they canceled it for this year. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I guess they got out of that one," but at least they stuck to it. Glad for those that may have made names that they're a little less willing to show or discuss on their gamer tag or their PSN ID. But I'm just glad I was able to get matching ones for both Xbox and PlayStation and for Twitter and stuff. But it's about time. I wish they would have had a better system in place, so it would have been a little bit easier or a little bit more consistent, so they didn't have to have a cutoff before April of 18 or something like that. But yeah, it's Sony does it now. Oh, it's the greatest thing ever. Prior to that, it's like, oh, it's no big deal. I don't need to change my name. Just start a new account. It's like,
Well, you got to remember that was back when they didn't pay for online as well.
True. But you would figure with paying for online service, you would get better online service, as well as some of the features that the others have been paying for a while. And it seems like Sony is just playing catch up on some of that stuff now. But hey, glad that they figured out a way to at least make it work with their existing system, and hopefully it doesn't cause any catastrophes for those that try to play like a game prior to April after they do a name change.
Yeah, that's another thing too. You got to look at that side. So no, that's very, very important. So go ahead and finish up, Fuzz. If that was it, I'm gonna move on to Zalker.
That's it.
All right, for sure. Not a problem, man. So Zalker, man, what do you think, bro, about the name change?
As a tech guy, it's abysmal. The only way I can see it, I'm about to get real geeky with you guys real quick. So as a coder, in a database, when you have a certain name or a database, so let's say you go to a hospital and you have like your ID, like whatever you have, and they have your history there. You're under an ID number like 8675, and that's your number forever. And then they can pull up all your history through that. So you can change your name through that because you're still that number 8675. So it should be no problem for you to change that name. It's called an ID tag, and you keep it there. That's how you run databases. So to me, the only way that they've had trouble to do this is if they ran the database by your name.
And see, that's what I've read. And I mean, I don't have any confirmation on this, but my understanding is that Xbox has like some crazy long ass number.
It's like integer.
Whereas Sony did it off your name.
Yeah, so Sony did it off your name.
So it was one of those things that like any like 13-year-old who's had a coding class could have told you now.
Oh yeah. I took databases in school, and it's like, if I read that, and I was like, this is the only way that they can like mess this up. Yeah. If that's why it's like that. And, you know, not to be, you know, I'm going to take a little bash at them. It doesn't matter if you can't change your name from April because you guys don't have any multiplayer games to play anyways. You don't have anything. not to be a jackass about it, but that's a big thing. That's a big thing for me, man. You know, you guys don't have that. So except for like the third-party ones that we have already, but you don't have Halo or Gears or, you know, anything like that. So it's just a huge mess up. And, you know, I don't know if you guys saw it today. I put a video out on it today. Mm-hmm. There's messages going on in PlayStation where hackers send a message, and no matter what you do, it bricks your console, and you have to factory restart your PlayStation.
Oh my god!
Wow!
So it's on Reddit. They're putting warnings out there. This isn't a small thing. Some guy put on Reddit, and it's gotten pretty damn big. So you have to set your messages to private, so you don't get it. Even if you open it in your app on your phone and delete it, apparently it still will go through and brick your console, and you can't do anything on it. So that's another like problem. Like, you're paying this much money for that kind of service, which I'm not paying at all. I don't have PlayStation Network. I'm never going to get it. I don't need it. So talk about just a horrible infrastructure with no security whatsoever to basically protect its users that are paying for it. And I just find that just so bad that somebody can send a message, and it's basically like dividing by zero, right? It's making your console divide by zero, puts it in the loop, and just like, that's it. Just good luck, you know? And that just happened. You know, somebody put it out there, and it's just sad. You know, I want them to be better. Like, you look at Nintendo and you're like, that's really sad. And then you look at Sony and you're like, damn, that's pretty damn sad too. And then you realize what you're paying for on Xbox Live. You are. So, you know, I think they need to revamp their infrastructure, even if it means taking it down for a couple weeks to a month. Honestly, you need to do it, especially if you're not doing the database correctly with the IDs. And, you know, that's just, no, man, it's just bad. Like, as a tech person, like, I want to walk into their technical place and be like, what the hell are you doing? I'm not even a database master, and I know what the hell, like, what the hell? Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know, man. It just I don't want to go too far on it, man, because I just don't want to throw shots like that. But it's just funny to me that, like, you know, it's something that we've been able to do for forever, and now just getting the feature. I'm happy that they're getting the feature. You know, I'm not, you know, smearing anything in anybody's face, because they deserve, you know, that to be a standard on the platform. So glad we're able to get that out of the way. Now, I do have a bonus question. We're gonna go a little bit over the hour, guys. I do, and this is directly for you, John, because I know you got the inside information on all of the indie stuff. Okay, so I need to know. I need to know what's going on, man. So I want to know, have you heard anything about what's going on with either Ashen or Below? Have you heard anything about? No, I'm serious, man.
They were both available to play at PAX.
Okay.
So they were both on the floor there. So
okay.
I actually ended up getting sick at PAX, so I missed my chance to play them. They were at the ID at Xbox event, and I figured I'd just see them on Saturday because I had meetings with some of these guys. And I ended up getting so sick that I was just passed out, basically, at the place I was staying on an air mattress all day. So, like, I totally actually missed those. So my friend Tiger actually ended up going to all my meetings. So he ended up covering them for me. So I didn't actually get to see him then. I played Below 4 or 5 years ago at E3, and it looked good. And, I mean, I think it's one of those games that's almost going to suffer at this point because of the fact that it's been delayed so long that you think it's going to come out and be perfect. And I mean, I just think that's going to be a really hard, you know, standard to meet. You know, like, just it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, Capybara has done some really good games, and I think when it comes out, it's going to be good. And as far as Ashen, man, like, that's one that I think Zero's in your chat, actually. He's super, super into that one.
Oh, nice.
He's been, like, super covering it for us.
Cool, awesome. So I'm thank you for that. I appreciate that, because I didn't know exactly, And those are two games that I'm definitely looking forward to, more particularly for me, Ashen. But both I've been waiting on for forever. So hopefully we do see something from them. Now, that was pretty much it, guys, as far as the show goes. We can go ahead and wrap things up. All right, give me a quick second, guys. Sorry about that. But we're going to go ahead and let John, the kids in the background, but John, go ahead and let everybody know where they're going to go ahead and find you, brother. Just kind of let everybody know what's up with the social media, the links.
Sounds good, dude. All right, so you can find me on Xbox if you want to follow me for whatever reason. My gamer tag's Kane. On everything other than Xbox, I'm Kane141. So, you know, like if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's where I am. I run xblafans.com. I'd love for you guys to check that stuff out and check out some of the stuff we're doing on YouTube as well. We've pretty much covered every single ID at Xbox game on YouTube that's come out over the last year. So we have like these little things called quick tastes where we've literally played like 3 hours of the game, put up a 10-minute video so you guys can figure out if you actually want to buy or, you know, even waste your time checking out this game or if it's just worth skipping. Because, I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, there's 17 indie games that have come out sometimes in a week. That's insane. That's way too many.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody can handle that. So, you know, like, we love covering that space, and that's kind of what we do.
Nice. Well, thank you for taking your time out too, man. Here, it's been
show, dude.
Man.
I appreciate it, dude.
No, for sure. Like I tell everybody who's on the show first time, you're always welcome. Once you're on the show once, you become family here. So don't be surprised you get a random DM from me, you know, next few weeks saying, hey man, you want to jump on the show? It's to talk games, brother. So appreciate you taking some time out to join us here this evening, brother. So next. Zalker, let's go ahead and get your shout out, brother. Let everybody know where they can find you. I know you dropped in a little bit late, but man, better late than never. So,
I mean, I'm not going to leave you hanging, man. Come on.
I know. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, yeah, and you guys can find me on YouTube. You know, Zalker87, Zalker87. I try to put content out every week. Try to do it every day. And you can find me on Twitter at Shocked87. I've been playing like damn crazy Assassin's Creed Odyssey. If you have not played that game, play the damn game on the same level for me as Witcher 3. Damn good game. So check it out, play it, enjoy it. Fuzzy, how you doing? I miss you.
I'm mad you put on your Bob Ross voice.
Oh yeah, I had to make it creepy as I can.
Oh my goodness, that's a great segue. It's your turn now, Fuzzy. You realize that, right?
What's up, man? Hey, Fuzzy Belvedere here. You can see me on Twitter, Xbox Live, or PSN. More than likely, you'll find me, you know, driving around England and Forza Horizon 4 right now, pretty much trying to get all the cars and get my second prestige. But other than that, it's been great talking games with you. Thanks for joining us, John. It's been great talking to you about some of the indie games and your perspective on gaming in general. And
you said you like playing games, right? Like Ace Combat and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever check out Everspace?
Yeah, I actually have that. I haven't done the DLC update, but definitely love the HDR.
I was just trying to think off the top of my head. I'm like, there's been like 7 of them that have come out through the ID Xbox program, and I'm like, I think that's the best one.
Mm-hmm.
At least to me.
For a space game, that was one of my go-tos this year. I kind of passed on
Elite Dangerous.
Elite Dangerous,
Elite Dangerous,
yeah. The other one that came out, I'm blanking out, No Man's Sky. Those are both fun, but they're not the same kind of like dogfighty combat focus.
Right. No, but I think I'll definitely be picking up No Man's Sky when it's on sale, or you know, fingers crossed, maybe it'll come to Game Pass. I know there's quite a few of my friends that still play that on PC and stuff, but
it's a pretty enjoyable game if you get the chance.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you guys ever have questions about an immediate Xbox game, I've literally played all of them.
Yeah,
it's a little.
I'm gonna go randomly. I'm gonna go randomly through a list and just send you a message. What do you think of this?
People do that. Believe it or not, people on our Discord do that all the time. You guys are welcome to pop in and just hit us up. Between me and Zero, who's like hanging in your chat, I can guarantee we've played every game.
Nice.
There's not a game that's come out on Xbox that we haven't touched.
Nice. Awesome, man. Love it. Love it. So let me go ahead and get my little shout out here. And so once again, guys, your PTK Blam, the host with the most, your friendly neighborhood gamer, guys. PTK Blam across the board. Just want to thank everybody for coming out. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me at Xbox Live at PTK Blam. Drop a like on the video as you leave out the door here. Thank you guys for joining us another Saturday. We're going to do this thing again. Same place, same goddamn time. Same lit ass podcast, lit topics, lit gamers. Appreciate you guys so much. Let's do this again next week, and let's bring everybody we can possibly find with us, guys. So thank you guys so much. Please go and follow all of these awesome gentlemen here. I will make sure I leave their information down in the description below here. I'm going to go ahead and have to edit that in a little bit later. So you guys follow them, all right? So peace out. Love you guys so much. Take it easy. We are out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Later.